All right, Pastor Matt here, and we're going to finish up chapter 3 in this reading. We were talking about the false mortification of sin, and then in the last reading, let me scroll up here. For those of you that are watching on video, I do have the text in front of me here that you can read. How does the Spirit mortify sin? We talked about that last time. That was the first question you had. We're going to deal with the second question is this. And here's the second question. So we're on this page right here. The second question is this. If this is the work of the Spirit alone, why are we urged to do it? I'm so glad I kept this question separate. Such an important question. We're going to read this today. I'm looking forward to John Owen's answer of this. But again, this is a great, great question, and it really delves into the mystery, the amazing, wonderful mystery of the gospel of Christ at work in a human heart. Okay? So let's read it. Let's hear what John Owen says, right? If this is the work of the Spirit alone, why are we urged to do it? If only the Spirit of God can do it, maybe we should leave the work entirely to Him. Okay. Well, let's see here. Number 1, here's his answer. It is only the Spirit's work in the same way that all graces are good works. Oh, I read that terribly. Let me start that over again. It is only the Spirit's work in the same way that all graces and good works in us are the Spirit's. He works in us, okay, and he shares the Greek works. It's that Greek word that looks like energy, energizes. He works in us to will and to act in accord with his own good purpose. He exercises all our works in us. He fulfills every work of faith with power. He assists us to pray, and he is a spirit of humble prayer, and yet we were rightly exhorted to do all these things. So he's just given some examples. If you do have the text, there are references for each of those quotes that I just read, but he's saying it's this is a commonality of how graces and good works in us are the Spirit. So we're told to do these things, right? He's working in us. Number 2, second part of this answer. He does not work out our mortification in any way that keeps it from being our act of obedience. I love that. He does not work out our mortification in any way that keeps it from being our act of obedience. That is profoundly true. The Spirit of God is not going to work in you to work out that killing of sin in your life. Man, that stubborn sin that you've been fighting. Maybe it's an addiction. Maybe it's pornography. Maybe it's other versions of lust. Maybe it's anger, attitude, whatever the case may be. God does not work in you, working out your mortification in any way that keeps it from also being at the same time simultaneously an act of obedience. You must obey because he is working in you. The Holy Ghost works in us and on us in a way that is consistent with who we are, a way that preserves our own liberty and free obedience. He works on our understanding, our will, our conscience, and our desires, consistent with the nature of each. He works in us and with us, not against us or without us. His assistance is an encouragement to complete the work, not an excuse to neglect it. This entire paragraph, I could just preach and preach and preach. So profoundly true. I like to put it this way. It feels like you're doing it. You know it's God doing it, but it feels in so many ways, not across the board. Please don't misunderstand me, but it feels like work so often to do this killing of sin in your life. But our confidence comes because we know it is the Spirit of God in us. I pray that you, in whatever case you may be, whatever stage of fighting sin in your life, you would embrace this wonderful reality of the gospel, that it is free grace given to us to kill sin from the power of the Spirit of God, a divine energy to do so. But Don't ever forget. It's going to feel like in that day to day, it feels like work. Okay. Indeed, John Owen, I'm going to read the rest of this, hopefully without, I'll try to stop interrupting John Owen. Indeed, I might take time here to sorrow over the endless and foolish efforts people make when they are convicted of their own sin. They manage to restrain it by countless and bewildering rituals. But being strangers to the Spirit of God, all of this is done in vain. They fight without victory and have war without peace. They are in slavery all their life. They spread their strength on something that will not satisfy their hunger, laboring for what cannot benefit them. This is the saddest warfare any person can be engaged in. Someone who is powerfully convicted by the law is pressed to fight against sin, but he has no strength for the combat. He can only fight. He can never conquer. Such people are like men purposefully thrown on their enemy's sword to be slain. The law drives them on, and sin beats them back. Sometimes they think they have foiled sin when all they have done is raise a cloud of dust to keep from seeing it. They mistake their natural fear, sorrow, and anguish for an indication that sin is conquered. In reality, it is not even touched. By that time, they are exhausted, and yet they must enter into the battle again. The lust they thought was slain appears to have no wound. If the case is so sad with those who are lost, but at least make the effort, then what is the condition of those who despise all this? What of those who are under the perpetual power and control of sin, who love it, and who worry only that they cannot satiate the desires of the flesh? I pray that these words, again, I pray that they will encourage you, lift you up, inspire you, motivate you, spur you on to live this life by the power of Christ to defeat sin through his power and his work in you. I hope that you continue going through this with me. If you have any questions, don't forget you can always contact me, and I would be more than happy to take an episode where I just answer questions of what we've covered so far. And as usual, I also hope this is helpful and beneficial in specific ways, in ways that you are dealing or fighting sin in your life. If you need additional help with that and you live anywhere near me, or heck, in the world we live in, you don't even have to live near me. You just have to have some internet, right? I would be more than happy to talk with you, counsel you through dealing with and battling sin in your life. Thank you for listening, and I appreciate it, and I'd love to hear some feedback.